now for the Shop Report with
Barbershop Jay.
What up, sports fans? Welcome to the Shop Report. I'm Barbershop Jay. I'll be your host for the day. Here's what's happening. This first segment comes to us and is powered by none other than Rocket Digital. Joining me on the program today is none other than my cat from the NYC, a.k.a. Rucker Park. Brother Rich, what's happening, man?
Well, first and foremost, it's an honor and a pleasure to be on this platform with you, as it always is. And we hope that the Cowboys, you're pleased with the Cowboys draft. We hope that you're pleased, and we hope that Mr. Jones is pleased, and he will sign Dak Prescott. So we're honored to you.
Anyway, I have not been following that like you have, apparently. And secondly, can I get to my other host, please? Thank you very much. I mean, my goodness, that was 25 minutes worth of soliloquy. On the other side of the ledger, we got my man from up north, Joey James, a.k.a. Double J. Tell the people what you say.
Handling my inner Michael Jordan. Some of my Shop Report teammates used to drink beer halfway through the show.
Yeah, used to. I don't drink anymore. I don't even drink Coca-Cola. If you're up and around, you're out and about, and you want to give us a shout, that number to call is area code 267-687-0026. Once again, area code 267-687-0026. And as a reminder, we just want to say one more time, we are powered by Rocket Digital. All right, this first one comes to us from the land of college basketball, or should we say collegiate sports, and that is the NCAA pay to play. And then should I say they relent on the pay to play. Brother Rich, we're going to, of course, start with you. I try to put most things in question form when I start to do my show notes and so on and so forth, but every now and again I might have to make a statement or two. In your estimation, because we've talked about this subject, my goodness, ad nauseum, right? What's the one thing,
Fact,
in your estimation, that pressured the NCAA into finally giving in on this quote-unquote pay-to-play or compensation for endorsements and so on and so forth for the collegiate athletes? Excuse me.
LeVar Ball.
Oh, interesting. That is interesting. That's interesting. Okay.
LeVar Ball and what the success of LeVar Ball's independent projections and directions, even though he didn't succeed in every aspect and element he exposed us to, in terms of his shoe did not do as well as he projected. So from that point of view, they're retooling those kind of things and going more to an apparel line. But his striking out for an independent avenue for his sons to manifest their God-given talents was something that in the modern era we had never seen an individual so strident, so committed to that direction, and ultimately nobody can say he was not successful. Lonzo is in the NBA. His other son is now projected to be a number one draft pick, if not number one itself. And so we have these kinds of things where here's this young man taking his sons and the kinds of money they were signing for and going overseas and going the independent route. And now ESPN ended up showing their games, and with the internet and Facebook and all these different kind of things that you had happening with that, there was pressure from them from all other avenues. And here someone bust the door open and showed another avenue and say, look, you don't have to do any of this. I'm making my own league. I'm going to pay my own players. I'm going to get my own endorsements, my own sponsorship. I'm going to have a team over here and a team over here. I'm going to rent arenas. I'm going to do this. And he was showing a pathway that they had to quickly acquiesce to most elements of the conversation, in particular and with peculiarity, the ability of these athletes to get money off of endorsements, to get rid of that, because that's already been litigated several times. And they're closer and closer to losing that argument every time it goes to. LeVar Ball was definitely and is definitely someone we should look at and credit for where we are today in terms of another inch towards total liberation and freedom for college athletes.
Good stuff. Okay, I wouldn't even looked at it that way, but I'm glad you pointed that out. That's why you're here on the program with me, of course, because you see things I don't see, as well as Double J and Gully and anybody else that contributes. But let me ask you this: in theory, LeVar Ball's what he did, what you just mentioned in regards to him, could you say in theory, sort of like what Martin Luther King, when he gave his speech, he said, I might not be here with y'all, but it's going to come a day when. So in other words, LeVar Ball got the thing going, but he said, I might not have got it to where I wanted it to, but this is going to get the thing rolling into however long from now, you're going to see what it is I was trying. So somebody had to get it started, so to speak.
Absolutely correct.
Okay.
Absolutely correct. He may not have been the right messenger, but
Got
he
you.
certainly brought the right message. And people began to pick up and began to, in their own ways, implement the message. And then along come LeBron James' agent, which Paul gets some of his high school clients endorsement contracts and gets them to play in another league while they wait out a year to become eligible to play in the NBA. And we saw that's happening as well. Then we have the young man in Memphis who we saw his activities towards bypassing really college athletics and trying to go straight to the NBA.
Yeah, okay. So basically setting the tone. And I applaud everybody you just mentioned in regards to doing that, for sure. Double J, what say you? What's the one thing you think that pressured the NCAA into?
Absolutely. It's nothing but a G thing with Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg.
I was going to go.
Nothing but the G League.
Got you.
In addition to Senators Bradford and Skinner out of California, Brother Rich's backyard there.
Yep.
Right.
Co-authoring that Fair Pay to Play Act.
Right.
Again, what I love about it is that generally speaking, especially if you're an entity, you do not want the federal government involved in anything that you are doing. So for the NCAA,
they don't discriminate,
which is absolutely. What I love specifically is Stephen Bradford. And Senator Stephen Bradford, for those who are not familiar, he called this and stands by this, that this is a civil rights issue.
Ooh.
So to further your point that you guys mentioned a moment ago, with what it felt like, it, in my opinion, it is. What I'm looking for in the future, and what I am glad that those that are getting involved are going to stand by, because as we've been told, and I'm sure as you're going to continue to inform the general public here, they're going to be making some rules, some changes, that being the NCAA.
Yes.
But Mr. Bradford has said himself that we are going to be watchdogs when it comes to whatever it is they try to roll out.
Now, I'm glad you said that, because we will dive into this definitely in a little bit more, a little bit more in depth and a little bit more detail, because I found an article via ESPN. I won't read the whole thing like I normally do here, but there are certain pieces and portions of it that I kind of picked out that I thought would be pertinent to today's show. One of the things was, of course, just to catch everybody up to speed, so to speak, this whole proposal and this whole pay to play now for athletes and the NCAA agreeing to compensation and such would allow college athletes, the gist of it is, to sign endorsement contracts and receive payments for other work, provided that the schools they attend are not involved in any of the payments. Now, Double J, elaborate on that right there. Would you want me to read that again right quick? Because I mean, I understand it, but I don't want people to always hear from my side. I prefer you and Brother Rich, you know what I mean, to dive in a little bit more or elaborate on that right there, as far as the schools not being able to be involved in any of the payments.
Yeah, it's called fair market. You would be getting paid if you're here. Let's give another example here. Let's take sports out of it. If you're a computer science major and you build an app, you can monetize that app, and if you become an overnight millionaire, you become a Mark Cuban and sell it, even while you're still deemed a quote unquote student.
Amateur.
Again, to a larger
an amateur, so to speak.
Absolutely. They will not stand in your way. But you're telling me, because you're deemed an athlete, and that title,
Oh,
the
gotcha.
title of athlete, you don't have those same rights. So you tell me, does that sound fair?
No. And let's make note. Life is not fair, but it's the principle of the matter. Okay? Life in and of itself in general is not fair, but you're right, Double J. In this instance, it doesn't balance out. Can we say it that way? It doesn't balance out. Okay? There's no way the guy who going to the same university, like you said, can create an app and get paid off of it. But because we add a word in there, athlete, that somehow eliminates him from being able to do what the guy who created the app, even though they sitting in the same dorm together, so to speak, or at the same university. Absolutely. Yeah, it needs to be leveled out. The level the playing field, baby. Brother Rich, what say you about that? Are you cool with or glad that the schools are not involved in any of the payments?
Double J said it.
Okay.
You said what?
I said, are you cool with the fact that
You asking me what?
Are you cool with the fact that, now that, of course, athletes can get to sign endorsement contract and receive payments, but provided that the schools that they attend are not involved in any of the payments? You cool with the schools not being, or should the schools?
Well, again,
go ahead.
No, the school shouldn't be involved at all. I thought that Double J said it perfectly. Fair market value. If Adidas wants to pay this athlete, sign a direct contract with him or her, they should be allowed to do that because the schools are profiting off of their images, off of their jersey sales, off of their shoes that they're wearing. The colleges are making money. They're able to sign direct contract with coaches to that say the student athlete has to wear this kind of sneakers today, and then they sign another contract with Reebok for the jerseys and this and that, and the players see none of that. So absolutely, this is great. This is great. Absolutely great. Okay. And the other thing I think it does, it keeps the students, the other part of money that's going to have to be discussed at some point in time, because this conversation is not over, is the TV money and all of the other money, ancillary money that comes along from these tournaments and things like that.
Yeah, and we're going to get into that too. That's one of the portions of that article I wanted to point out. Okay, Double J, do you want to add something to that before I go to the next one?
Yeah, absolutely. To Brother Rich's point, we understand that, look, a water polo player is not going to have as much market value as, say, the quarterback of Ohio State.
Right, got you.
But allowing both of which both presently cannot receive a penny for their likeness, that asset and an element of this needs to change.
Okay, got you. Yeah, I'm with you. And let me back up a bit. There's something you pointed out as far as the senator, because we talked about that as well. And I forget the lady's name. You just mentioned it. When it started, the senator in California started it off. And what I'm getting ready to say, we discussed as well. But to date, I mean, as of right now, because that was then, this is now. Why do you think, let's revisit, let me say it that way. Why do you think Ohio State's Gene Smith was adamant because if you remember back then, he said when it was first kind of being introduced about this whole thing from the folks in California, he was like, "Oh, we just won't schedule them schools to play." Why do you think Gene Smith took that stance? And to this day, he's not said anything in the way of or in favor of, and which would I'm just going to have to presume that by your silence, you still taking the stance that you took way back when. Why do you think that he would say that, you know what I mean, with Ohio State being one of the biggest schools, regardless of whether it's football or not? I mean, who doesn't know the Ohio State University? You get what I'm trying to say? Why do you think he took that stance, Double J?
Right. Well, because if you take a deeper dive, you'll see that Michael V. Drake, the chair of the Board of Governors and president of Ohio State, had a different stance.
Oh, see, I wasn't familiar.
Between those two, just apples to apples. Yeah, absolutely. So he has taken the stance that, look, we want to change this. I'm paraphrasing here. But the process that the NCAA has in place basically is to move this at a snail's pace by incorporating feedback from all three divisions over an extended period of time, basically delay. And so when a superior of yours see things slightly different, you will generally then keep your mouth shut if you like doing what you're doing.
Gotcha. Okay. If you want to keep your job, you'll sit over there in the corner at the kids' table. Got you. We got my man D. Gully from the CO Alum Bus that just joined us. Gully, what's the deal, son?
Hey, everything's great. Happy Cinco de Mayo and Taco Tuesday and all. Really great to be with you guys. Thank you for allowing me to come in. I'm anxious to get it in, man. I got some things I know I wanted to share if y'all haven't already covered them. So let me not prolong this any further.
Yeah, we just now getting started. But, on a side note, let me take a sidebar right quick. Double J, you and I discussed already, and Gully, you and I discussed as well. I don't insult anybody's intelligence or level of, right? But I just wanted to point out, it's some dumb, and I don't like profanity on this show, and I'm not going to use it here. But please, I want you all to get the visual when I say it's some dumb, blankety blank, 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 filth, flarn, filth people in the world, man. It really is. Do you know, and I know we taking a sidebar right quick, do you know that I'm getting out of these Facebook groups. I'm getting ready to start eliminating them one by one. I did one last night based off a post. Do you know a guy asked a question? He said, do you all ever wonder how some guys made it to the NBA? And he had a picture of Earl Boykins standing next to Shaquille O'Neal. I forget who Shaq was playing for at the time. Earl was playing for the Milwaukee Bucks. He said, bro, like Earl Boykins, how did he make it to the league? So I'm looking at the question like, what? Then I started reading some of the comments. And one guy pointed out, man, the only reason he was in there because the league thought he was cute. I'm like, what? I'm just saying all this to say, it's people out there that's talking and running their mouth. This is why we do this show. If we just let it go, folks out there opening their mouth saying dumb stuff, and there's nobody to counteract the dumb stuff, then the world going to be a whole lot worse off than this coronavirus. You get what I'm trying to tell you? I saw Earl Boykins with my own eyes. That's what I mean. You don't speak on stuff you don't know. I work right next to a guy who I didn't even know until me and him got to chopping sports. He was like, yeah, man, that was you. Yeah, man, but we get to. He said, yeah, man, Earl used to be in the backyard when we would all be playing back there, and he was a little dude dribbling the ball, and we wouldn't let him play because you know how we do as older heads. We be like, no, Earl, go on, you a little young dude. And the dudes was going on and on about how he was trash and how he was garbage and how. This is what I mean, man. You got to stop speaking on stuff that you have no knowledge of. But we'll get into that either a little later or maybe on another show for another time. I don't know. I just wanted to mention that. There's some really dumb people out in the world. You get what I'm trying to tell you? And y'all, them kind of folk, y'all can kiss my grits. But anyway, back to the NCAA and they're relenting on this pay to play. Now, we can all agree, or do we agree, we'll go around the table here, quote unquote, allowing promotions and third-party endorsements, do we agree that that's uncharted territory, Brother Rich?
Absolutely.
Double J?
But we're in uncharted territory in this experiment anyway. We have to do better than we've been doing.
Okay.
So we need to chart some new ground. Absolutely.
Okay, got you. So, Double J, what about you in agreement with that as well?
But rephrase the question. I want to make sure I heard it correctly.
Okay, allowing promotions and third-party endorsements is uncharted territory in regards to this, this pay-to-play thing that the NCAA is now going forth with.
It's not uncharted territory.
Really?
It's already been happening.
Okay, got you. I got you. But
Johnny Manziel.
Go ahead.
Signed helmet that represented himself, his likeness, but also his university. So again, from just that standpoint alone, his university would be a third party.
Got you.
Again, the university wasn't selling the helmet; a third party was.
Got you. I like the
Taking
both.
a step further.
Go ahead.
These universities have the same agreement with North Carolina with a Jordan brand.
Got you.
That's a third party.
Okay. Got
Athlete, I'm telling you right now, even though Greg Anthony can afford the fine Cole Anthony better not come out there in some Adidas.
Okay. Excuse me. Okay, that was a good one.
But that's
Right.
where I'm going with this is that, look, we're not in an era here where we've been archaic in as they're trying to portray this, that, well, them being able to do it, we've never been here before. We don't know what to do. We got to make sure they're protected. No.
Got you. Okay, got
It
you.
was okay when they were doing it.
Got
It is
you.
no longer okay, or we have to cross T's and dot I's and add punctuation while we're at it to confirm that the players can do it.
Got you.
Malarkey.
Yeah, and not Mike. All right, people. Gully, you want to say? You have a say on this?
Yeah, the caring concern that they have to have is to make sure that when they do open this up, they don't continue to further make themselves hypocrites for how they've been doing before. See, it's the historical context about this all that needs to be preserved. They have to make sure that they can be able to say from now on in such a way that they can effectively not come up and say, oh, well, remember when you did this? Remember when this happened? You see what I'm saying? That's why they have to take it with kid gloves. They have to prevent themselves from opening them up to how they used to behave before. That's why it's moving so slowly. You're right. It's not new ground. It's new ground just adding the players in to what you'd already been giving again to yourselves previously. That's all.
And let me throw this out here at
So,
you.
Gully, you mean like in the case of President Mark Emmert saying there is no way players will be paid under my watch, to then saying, well, we might make some changes for them to get paid, kind of pulling an old flip-flop barbershop, that type of
Oh,
thing?
really? You just really had to throw me in the same sentence with Mark Emmert, Double J? I should mute you.
Yeah, I was like, dang, Double J. Like,
Yeah,
what
Double
happened,
J. You know what
man?
I'm
Did
saying,
he-
man?
did he
Gosh,
tell you,
I'd rather
dang,
be.
bro, that kinda
I'd
hurt,
rather you
like,
to I'd rather you made a
wow.
Cowboys reference. My goodness, Double J.
I know. That's what I was
Yeah,
thinking.
Double J,
Wow,
you-
Double,
oh,
man,
Brother
you guys
Rich.
need to work that out, man.
Yeah, man, that was you was wrong for that. You was wrong for that. You was just wrong for that. I should mute you for the rest of the show. Yeah, I'm gonna tell you like 45 would tell his people on his
Double
show.
J, I knew exactly what you meant. I got your point.
Oh,
You got-
whatever.
The listeners got your point.
Yeah, you're fired. Yeah. Would you also include in that what about the Terrell Pryor situation? I forget how many years ago it was now. Like before that, whatever bowl game they played against Arkansas. Or was it before? No, they were allowed to, it was some question prior to the bowl game with Arkansas whether or not if Terrell Pryor and them was going to play for Ohio State. When
No,
they signed,
it wasn't.
when they
I
signed
don't
their
think it was
pants
the
or whatever.
Arkansas bowl game. I think it was a game against Oregon. I want to
No.
say it was
No. It was the game. It was what I'm talking about as far as them signing their pants or something or another. That was in the
the trinket game that ultimately got Tressel fired in terms of his handling of it.
Was it? I don't know. I don't remember what game. But I'm asking that situation with them when they signed the players were signing pants or whatever jerseys or whatever they were signing. Would this fall under that as well or no? The Manziel thing you mentioned, Double J. No, yes, maybe.
It would if they were being compensated again from a third party. I think very different than think of an athlete leaving the floor and then there's a kid sitting over the railing asking him to sign a basketball.
Okay.
So the kindness of your heart versus receiving a check from someone is really the context here.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to make sure we understood the difference between the two, whatnot. Okay. But let me give you just a little synopsis here of what is being allowed as far as the athletes are concerned, okay? Athletes will now be allowed to appear in advertisements and can reference their sport and school, but they will not be able to use school logos or branding in those advertisements. So, if I'm an athlete, am I referencing my school if my school ain't paying me, Brother Rich?
Absolutely not.
So I'm not going to reference my school then.
Absolutely
I'm not going to mention my school then, right?
Absolutely not.
Okay. You want to expound on that, or you want me to pass
Unless my school pays me. Unless my school gives me some measure of compensation because, again, this is the issue. If you want me, I play for this school. This is the Ed O'Bannon case.
That's what
You're
there
using
you
my
go.
likeness. You sell my jersey. You when I play in an arena and 100,000 people come out, they're coming to see us play. You're using all of that to have ticket sales. Absolutely. If you want me to endorse the school by using the school in my branding, that should be a relationship. And now we're going to go back to the argument, well, they get an education, they get this. But come on, we've done the math on this. We know that their education does not equate to the kinds of money, the value of education does not equate to the kinds of money these organizations are seeing. And so let's go back to what you were saying about Ohio State. Why would Ohio State be against this? Because they represent the essence. They're the quintessence of the good old boys network that has run and ruled the NCAA like a plantation for almost 100 years.
Yes.
This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
So yes, absolutely the players should have. I wouldn't wear
References.
nothing. I would do a Michael Jordan. I would cover up the logo.
Got you. Yeah, I like that. That was a nice move too by MJ, baby. Gully, you want to weigh in on that?
Yeah, restate the question that you asked. 'Cause I think I had a disagreement with Brother Rich, but I'm not certain. It's based on if I understand the question correctly. Before I assume that I do have a disagreement with your position, Brother Rich. Restate your question.
No, it wasn't necessarily a question. I was just mentioning a few of the things that athletes now, under this proposal, pay to play, so to speak, athletes will now be allowed to appear in advertisements and can reference their sport and school, but they would not be able to use school logos or branding in those advertisements. And I asked Brother Rich, in that instance, if I'm an athlete, I'll reference my sport, but I ain't referencing my school unless my school is paying me. Have you say?
Well, okay, I think I might have it misunderstood, Brother Rich, but I would absolutely, because I think it allows me to finally put North Carolina blue on something and market it myself. So if I got a pair of Beats Edition headphones and I might have, the number 31 edition headphones that's North Carolina blue and white, and they're the D Gullies, then I wouldn't care if they had North Carolina blue, if they had the Tar Heel logo in it, if I'm still able to market my product and still able to profit from it. I wouldn't want to disassociate that school in the case of me being able to profit from it. You follow what I'm saying? So I wouldn't mind having the Buckeye logo on something. I wouldn't mind having the Buckeye logo in conjunction with my name on a sports drink or what have you, if I know that I'll keep remunerated from it.
But here's the deal, though. I think
wouldn't shade them in that regard.
But here's the deal, though, and to Brother Richard's point, I think now that the athletes are now being able to be compensated, you already know who that athlete is before you really know the school. I mean, of course, let's say I'm just gonna pick a guy from my time. Let's say John Elway, okay. Yeah, I knew that he went to Stanford, and I know what Stanford stands for and so on and so forth, but I'm looking at John Elway. You get what I'm trying to tell you? John Elway was making Stanford, even though Stanford stand alone, but John Elway was made Stanford when John Elway was at Stanford, so to speak. So now that I can get paid off my likeness, I'm disassociating myself at every shot I got from the school, to tell you the truth, because, and I hear your point, Gully, and it's a valid one. However, I'm saying now that I can get paid, the schools have been getting paid. You see what I'm saying? Now this gives me a chance. In other words, I'm cutting out the middleman. You get what I'm saying? At all costs. I'm cutting out the middleman. I don't want y'all nowhere near me because y'all know who I am. I don't have to put their logo on my drink for y'all to know who did I play for them. You see what I'm saying? And then I said, in essence, if the school is paying me, in other words, I want a check from the NCAA and I want a check from the school. If I ain't getting a check from the school, then I'm getting a check for whoever it is I'm endorsing me. You see what I'm saying? So if it's Powerade that's endorsing me, then they're going to say, endorsed by Powerade, I am Jason Sehorn. But it ain't going to have nothing to do with the Giants, or it ain't going to nothing to do with the NFL, you know what I mean? Or nothing to do with the brand, because the brand, they been getting paid off me anyway. You feel what I'm saying? But I'm to your point, I'm with you. You know what I mean? It's just like a throw-in, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? As long as I'm getting paid, it don't matter whether they own it or not. I feel you on that. But no, I've been waiting for this too long. Like Chris Webber said, man, I walk down the street and see my jersey in the window, and if you buy me a hamburger right now, it's a violation. Oh, and now it's gonna be it's a way that possibly I can get paid, and I don't want y'all. Listen, if you know me, you already know what school I go to. What's already understood need not even be said. Pay the man, Shirley. But I get your point. Double J, you want to weigh in on that? You want me to read that again as well?
No. Here's the reality. There used to be a commercial out there that would, I believe it was from Enterprise, that would put a magnifying glass on the number of Division I student athletes and the number of those that would go pro, or better yet, the lack thereof. There's names that I'll throw out there. I'll say Miles Simon, Wayne Simeon, that come to mind.
Miles Simon went to Arizona, and Wayne Simeon went to Kansas, I think.
That's right.
Okay, go ahead.
They were incredible college players. Likely both will end up in the College Hall of Fame. However, even you could throw Peter Warwick in there on the football side.
Yep. Florida State.
It doesn't always translate at that next level. And so because if this can provide opportunities to those guys that may have to go pro in something other than sport, that can give them that down payment on that first house to allow them to get started. I'll give you the example of Scottie Pippen having, countless brothers and sisters and a family that relied on him while he was in college.
Okay.
It sounds like these are spoiled brats, but it's not. The financial implications that would not break the entity's bank would drastically improve the circumstances for hundreds, if not thousands, of families across multiple sports. I gave a couple examples here just because of, again, in recent memory, those are some folks that stood out. But the same could be said because, again, there's with others, the countless others. They didn't have to necessarily play those two particular sports. But again, for me, I'm an advocate for people getting what their value is.
I'm with you on that too, and that's at the end of the day, that's what it's really all about. Get your value and keep and look. I don't know who the player was that got drafted. I think it was an NBA draft, and my son and I were watching it, and they said that the guy didn't have an agent. I fell on the floor. In the case of Floyd Mayweather, he's his own boss. Cut out the middleman if you can. Get 100% of the take. Okay? Because those who have been getting paid off your likeness, they've been getting 150% of the take. You get what I'm saying? So get yours, young fella, if you can. I'm a proponent. I'm with you. Get your value. Get whatever you can get. And I ain't got to look. I don't have to give you a third, and I ain't got to give nobody a third unless the folks who came along with me and didn't grind it with me, them the only folks deserving of a third. You get what I'm saying? Just because you came in and signed a couple documents and a couple papers, you get a third. You know what I'm saying? But I'm the one that people come to pay to see. Come on now, don't get me started. Please don't get me started.
With further,
go ahead.
I will say, I'm sorry. Then with further articulation, Brother Rich, I don't have a disagreement with you. In fact, I agree emphatically with your position. It will avoid the opportunity. It will avoid any opportunity for a university that I'm already helping to build to then further collect off of me. That to me seems very. I think in this time I've really tried hard to avoid the alliteration of, let's say, professional sports as the enterprise to slavery. But what I thought that I wouldn't mind doing would be more, I feel like more of an alliteration to slavery, in that branding me by having me be able to produce a product for myself, but also have this other team's logo, who I'm already producing for, to also co-sign for it. Like, I don't need that much. I don't need the help. Peter, for example, if I'm Peter Warwick at Florida State during that time, and I have Powerade want to give on our run to a national title, Powerade want to get a special limited edition flavor, Peter Warwick flavored Powerade. Having the Florida Seminoles logo would be almost disrespectful, because you already know that I play there.
Yeah. And so when you would have to have it, and you wouldn't get any additional money for it, but they would.
No.
What
I'm saying is,
hold on, let him finish. Let him finish.
Let him
finish,
I'm
Gully.
saying if they're willing to. Oh, okay.
Yeah, Brother Rich, go ahead and finish. What were you saying?
No, but I'm saying because I'm agreeing with you, Gully, and I'm
Yeah.
just saying, in addition to that, it comes with an understanding that if you even went and did that, let's say I was a student athlete and I did that, and I did say, okay, I'm going to advertise North Carolina or the Seminoles or whoever it is. The fact is, if I advertise Ohio State, whatever additional benefit accrues to Ohio State as a result of me advertising Ohio State, I can't get any of that based on that rule.
Right.
Unless the relationship is directly with me and that client. So here's the college continuing to benefit off of me, and I'm going to close it with this. And you can come back, Gully, but I'm going to say this. Ed O'Bannon, we know Ed O'Bannon. I know who he is, because when he played at UCLA, we remember they had a hell of a run. He didn't make it in the NBA. Most of that team didn't make it in the NBA. Just like you're talking about the statistics that we put out a minute ago about how many players don't make it to the league, like you're talking about, Double J, when you showed the graph. Well, look at that. If most of the players are not going to make it to the NBA, my college life really is my earning potential. This is my time to make
and
money
I want
off of
every
basketball.
dollar.
I can't
Yes.
do it in high school. So this, especially when you play college basketball, let's be honest, or you play college sports, that is your job. Practice is your job. Going to the gym is your job. Going to the weight room is your job. That becomes your job. So pay me for my job, especially when my job is what's putting a campus roof over everybody's head on this campus. If I play football at Alabama, or I'm at the University of Texas, or some of these big basketball powerhouses, if I'm at Kentucky, come on now, I'm at Kentucky. I'm not paying the bills for every professor here.
Brother Rich, let me interject right quick before I forget my thought, because you just said something about high school. I can't get paid in high school, so I got to get paid. That college is my earning thing. And let me throw this at you all as well. How much different is it for baseball? When you mention high school, can a high school player, when it comes to Major League Baseball,
Fact.
don't they get paid? Can't they get paid and then they go to the minors or whatnot?
Absolute fact.
Okay, so am I missing something? Am I making a mistake? I mean, does this fit? For some reason, it seems like I'm trying to figure out how is that the case, but this ain't the case. Or am I out of? Should I not be throwing that in here? Oh, okay. And then on the flip side, what about Bodie Miller? Bodie Miller, the infamous, or whatever it is, the skier or whatever the case may be. I'm sure when he was in college, he was still skiing.
That's right. He's a downhill skier.
Downhill skier, right. Okay, so whatever college he was going to, whatever he was getting paid, was the school getting any of that money? I mean, I don't know the particulars. That's why I threw the baseball and that in there. I don't know the details. My mind don't go back that far, but I'm just throwing it in here because it seemed like it works with everything else we've been discussing so far. So now, if any of you all have anything, the contrary to that, please add it in at this time. Okay, I mean, so we'll leave it right there. Then we, what I'm saying, because that's why I was just wondering. A high school, okay, you can get paid in high school for playing baseball, but you can't get paid when it comes to football until you get to the pros, or basketball, right? If you get to the pros. But anyway. I guess basketball got the G League and all that stuff now. But yeah, Bodie Miller, yeah, right? Getting paid, baby, getting paid. And then let me give you some of the changes that are included here. Some of the changes in particular are the monetization of social media or social media channels for said player, profit from writing a book. So if the player or athlete or whatever wants to write a book, making a music album, hosting a sports camp, or starting a business. These are some of the things that the proposal includes for players now getting paid off their likeness. But I'm saying here in that instance, this could have been allowed before. Now, am I missing something here?
Fact.
The things that I just read to you here, could those things not have been allowed 5 years ago? Huh? That's what I thought. But let me read to you this little portion from this article here. Bear with me. I'll get to it because, again, you can go to ESPN.com and you'll find the pay to play and so on and so forth. Can college athletes hire agents? This is the one portion of it I found very interesting. Now, check this out. Athletes will be allowed to hire agents and other professionals, such as accountants, for example, to help them with business opportunities. The specifics about how athletes can hire these types of advisors and what the advisors will be allowed to do are still to be determined. NFL agent Lee Steinberg, who has been an agent for more than 40 years, believes this potential rule change will move up the calendar for when agents will begin contacting athletes. Steinberg believes the agent selection process could now begin in high school. You look at who the beneficiaries are for the one-and-done basketball player. By the time those kids get any brand, they're already in the pros, Steinberg said. This will primarily impact quarterbacks or a major superstar. You could think of Johnny Manziel, as Double J mentioned, or Tua Tagovailoa or Jameis Winston, players who early in their careers established a brand. Okay, well, let me stop right there. There's a few more I want to read here, but let me stop right there. How we know about Manziel and the brand, but how did Double J? How did Tua and Winston? When were their brands established? I don't recall that. And what do they mean by their brands?
Well, so in their case, because they were 3 years in, basically they had the rules been allowed, they could have left earlier than when they actually had. Like, for example, when Tua first came onto the scene, I would say a better example would be Trevor Lawrence from Clemson, where he could have left virtually after his freshman year. But again, you're not able to have those conversations, as Steinberg is pointing out, because they simply can't leave.
Okay, got you. Okay. All right, let me finish here. Let me continue. Excuse me. An anonymous NBA agent agreed with Steinberg when it comes to basketball players that the increased salary for select G League players will still be more appealing to a handful of prospects in each class. I mean, I guess so. So we can. Is it safe to assume, or I don't like to assume, or presume, if you would, that whatever the compensation and so on and so forth, the money won't be nowhere near what they could make in the G League? Is that safe to say here?
Okay.
Okay, got you. He does acknowledge, however, there may be enough endorsement money that would come with the visibility of playing for a blue blood program. As to Brother Rich's point, the Ohio State seemed like to me. Then they go on to say, there are some kids who just don't want to go to school anymore either, the agent said. So they'll prefer the G League over any college simply for the fact that they don't have to focus on schoolwork. But if you're a one and done, are you really focusing on schoolwork anyway? But for the ones on the fence, this could help. Steinberg believes it will be in the best interest of the agents to establish that relationship early on. The agent wants a marketable player, and helping build a brand presence sooner would provide value to both sides. Brother Rich, based on what I've just read here, what's your take? Is this advantageous or not advantageous to guys, in high school? And does it matter, like the sport, whether it's football, basketball, so on and so forth?
No, I think it's definitely advantageous because we're having a conversation and we're looking at it from these are things that we have to talk about. All of this is economics. These young men and women are generating resources for these schools. High school is about to get to junior high. ESPN will soon be showing junior high school games. They'll be telling us who's the kid coming out, who's the new fifth grade guy, you know? And so at a certain, we've been talking about LeBron's son for how long? We've known about Zion Williamson. He's been coming since he was in the 8th grade. So it's getting longer and longer from when they're tracking these players. So we're going to be tracking these children coming out of their womb. You know, okay, here so-and-so got born yesterday. You know, let's make sure what's the projection of this young person. So we're treating these young men and women as stock picks anyway. So, of course, they should be involved, and we need to have conversations about remuneration on both sides. And if the school performs their duty and provides the atmosphere and does what they're supposed to do and allows me to benefit from my likeness and do what I'm supposed to do, we're good. But if not, then we have to continue to have conversations that are going to be unpleasant on all sides, and then we're going to continue to interject words that make people uncomfortable.
Got you. Double J and Gully, before you all weigh anything, let me read this last portion, too. I think this is interesting as well. Steinberg also anticipates that the potential issues for agents, athletes, and universities when mutually beneficial opportunities converge. One of the big sources of marketing will come from companies looking to appeal to an alumni base or demographic that fits within a specific player's market. Then he mentions, of course, Ohio State, Texas, Notre Dame, USC, Michigan, and Alabama. These schools have massive alumni following, and given the chance, had Vince Young won the national championship in an earlier year, Texas alums would have bought everything and anything with his name on it, Steinberg said. There's a shared interest in cultivating that alumni group in the same way that golf should never be on TV this much, but because corporate executives like to play golf, they endorse lots of golfers. And it continues. Give me a second here. That will be a delicate relationship between player, agent, and university if a player does in fact sign with an agent early on in his career to help with his marketability. The key would be to project who those star players are, and the analysis would be who are the potential superstars, mostly in college football or in Olympic marketing, Steinberg says. He says, my assumption is that there will be a necessity to talk to parents and signing players at a much earlier age. Brother Rich, because one would assume that the same person who performed well in the marketing process would consequently become the agent for the pros. Double J, what do you say to all of that?
Right. We're already there. Let's face it, the recruiting process for the major sport we're here. We're already reached that stage. If I know guys like Mikey Williams, who's halfway across the country from me, Imani Bates as another, you're telling me the agent wouldn't be able to find him?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Got you. Gully, what about you? You got anything you want to add to that? This is good stuff too, fellas.
Yeah, I this is what needed to happen. Simply put, when I look at it is, I don't think I looked at it as specifically as you did, Brother Richard. You did, Double J. Not to say that that's anything wrong with that. No, I'm saying actually I've definitely educated myself with your viewpoints. But quite simply, what I look at it is like this. I go back to my favorite team in basketball and why it is I knew and I was excited for Tim Duncan. With Tim Duncan and his skill set, he wasn't flashy. That type of skill set and the way he played ball, he would have only been able to – I think he would have only been able to really succeed and get popular if people saw him consistently. The fact that he stayed 4 years at a university helped people to make Wake Forest more familiar to them. And then because he stayed somewhere, we were able to see him grow. My point is the idea of having a financial being financially compensated for your time somewhere provides stability. What happens? What do people do? Even if they're in a comfortable situation, if they're paid comfortably enough, they will stay. And if they stay, they'll become more entrenched. If I, as a basketball player, don't know 5% of the league because they're always moving around and they're always getting rookies that don't do nothing and don't perform. Now they got reason to stay and establish themselves and establish their brand. All of this is exciting to me. However they want to do it. If they want to go to the G League and establish their brand, that's fine. If they want to stay in college and use the benefit of a long-standing tradition of a Duke University or Syracuse or whatever, and they're compensated, much more than they were in the past to establish their brand, they become more familiar to me at Syracuse. Then I could watch them go to the Timberwolves and be more familiar with them because I've seen this guy at Syracuse because he had a reason to stay there and develop. I love it. That's why I love it, period. Whatever it takes to get people paid for them to stay and establish themselves, I'm great. I'm all for it.
Yeah, but let me throw this in too, though.
And to that point, too, here. Yeah, go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, let me say this right quick. But to Gully, if you think about college basketball back then, college basketball was much more natural and much more organic and much more watchable, regardless of who was who. You get what I mean? I didn't know who Tim Duncan was, but I knew what Wake Forest was. I was introduced to Tim Duncan because I wanted to see Wake Forest. You get what I'm saying? College basketball was different than what you're saying. To me, speaks more to how it is nowadays as opposed to back then. But I get where you was going with that. Go ahead, Double J.
Well, here's the thing. To this point, to the original question, there's some kids out there like Bunchy Young. He's 13. He may have just turned 13.
And I have no clue who this
he's
guy is.
on the young side of 13.
The football player, the football player. Oh my goodness, man! Go ahead, Double J. I'm sorry. Barbershop. Yeah, you have got to catch this kid, man. You see 5 minutes of him. Go ahead, Double J. My bad.
Yeah, I ain't here, Brother Rich.
Bunchy Young, as an example, has starred already in his own Snapchat series. He's starred in a Super Bowl commercial in which he's the one who took the game ball for this past Super Bowl to the referee.
Oh.
Before we've seen an opening kickoff.
Oh, that guy.
And all those little kids came running out there, the one with the ball. That is Bunchy Young.
Oh, okay.
He had to have been compensated for it. He has a brand. He is 13.
Oh, wow.
Is he NCAA eligible?
Oh,
the way that the current rules stand right now?
He's not.
Yeah, because they'll say they
paid
his parents.
Yeah, because that kind of happened with Penny in Memphis and Wiseman, so to speak, right?
Well, in that case, he took a loan.
Okay, got you. Okay, go ahead, finish your
He
thought.
didn't. His parents did.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah, got
correct.
you.
His parents, I'm sorry, his parents took a loan. Let me
Got you.
rephrase, to keep things straight. But my point is, what Gully was making, the case Gully was making a moment ago, even if you're not that, if you're the big fundamental, I knew who Tim Duncan was while he was at Wake Forest.
Mm-hmm.
I was watching him between Michigan and all the way when I was in Texas.
Yeah.
At one point in time. So we're trying to have you open the door for me with Jerry at one point in time, but that's neither here nor there. The same marketability exists if you're a Real Madrid player, and just because of the level of technology that we have and the way that everyone now is it has the tools to put together a highlight tape.
Mm-hmm.
There's programs out there such as Overtime
Mm-hmm.
that are notifying you and showing off those same posters that putting people on posters that back.
We lost you there for a second.
The point I'm making with all of this, that regardless of where you're playing, you could look at Earl Boykins out of Cleveland by way of Eastern Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
He would not have been limited to the Ypsilanti, Ann Arbor region.
Right. Yeah, got you. Okay.
His brand would have went everywhere. You could look at a Dame Lillard. You can look at a Ja Morant. The countless names that don't go to the blue blood schools are going to have bigger opportunities, in my opinion. No different than LaMelo Ball being able to make enough. Remember, when he was able, he didn't get the funds to purchase the club. They didn't give him 100% of their revenue for him to be able to say, all right, now I'm going to give you this revenue back, but the difference is I'm the captain now. No, he took his brand overseas. We'd like to think here that America, as great of a marketing giant that the United States is when it comes to advertising and revenue, you would be foolish to say that if you go elsewhere, if you venture overseas, that you're not going to have those same opportunities. You're full of crap. So it does not matter, in my opinion, where these kids go. If they've established themselves from what they're doing on the field between the ages of 13 to 17, you can go wherever you want and make a name for yourself. And honestly, it goes back to what we talked about before. What's stopping the athletes from going to the HBCUs and turning this whole thing around?
You know what? And that's interesting because and we're going to get into that in a minute. And watching The Last Dance, and to hear Tony Kukoc say he was making more money overseas than when he first came to the Bulls. And he was like, it wasn't about no $2 less. You know what I mean? He said we're talking some millions. But anyway, we'll get into that when we get to our portion of our segment of The Last Dance. But yeah, this was good stuff, fellas. Anybody want to add to? Let me lead us into the next one. Turn the page on the next one and saying this. Y'all can forget, even though they're making all of these changes, rightfully so, to athletes finally getting, the compensation that they deserve. They need to get more than they deserve. They should get back pay too. Matter of fact, as far as I'm concerned, the NCAA is in arrears. Anywho, you can forget about seeing the games, the NCAA basketball and hoop games come back. O'Bannon killed that. And
why? I totally disagree.
I
really feel like behind closed doors, I feel like behind closed doors, this is what EA needed in order to do that, because they have a stagnant product and an exclusive product with Madden NFL that is not doing what it needs to do, what they expect it to do. And the only way to do that is to create competition. And why would you create competition with 2K when you could create competition in-house? It's almost like, why would a Toyota allow people to buy Hondas when they can make an Avalon and appeal to that buyer?
All right. Well, you and Double J are the gamers. I'm not. I just don't see. I think they got beat up so bad behind the whole ordeal from the beginning that it just might be a done deal, baby. This might be a done deal, but I don't know. I know one thing: if they do come out with one, your cousins Khalil and Nasir, they will be at your house cutting your grass to get the money to buy one, because their dad is not. I'm not shelling out another dime. Okay, unless it's iRacing, which we all know by now. iRacing is the shizzle right now, baby. It's the shizzle. Anywho, unless it's got something to do with racing, you can cancel Christmas, Hanukkah, and everything else, Kwanzaa, and anything else you want on Big Daddy J coming out of his pockets, baby. You know what I'm saying? Which one of y'all? Jimmy got a nickel, though. Oh, okay, got you. If you're up and around, you're out and about, and you want to give us a shout, the number to call is area code 267-687-0026. Once again, the number to call is area code 267-687-0026. You listen to the Shop Report with Barbershop J, Brother Rich, Double J, Gully, and we are powered by Rocket Digital. All right, fellas, let's turn the page and talk about this Last Dance episodes 5 and 6. Gully, we're going to start this off with you. I've been having conversations back and forth with people at the job, man, about the documentary. Now, I told you from the first 2 episodes, this documentary is exposing a lot of quote-unquote apologists, okay? It's exposing y'all. But they refuse. They're going to go down with the ship. That's cool. Be Captain Smith if you want to, just as long as you ain't James Smith. Got what I'm saying? In my discussions, debates, arguments, or whatever you want to call it in the back and forth, the apologists, quote unquote, main argument is, and I don't want to say the dude's name. I really don't. But anyway, I'll ask the question. Let me do it this way. Why are Jordan's first round losses used to validate LeBron's greatness? Excuse me. Gully.
Because where we can't talk about points, when we talk about victories and losses, it is the only L column that one could conceive LeBron James to have an advantage. It's the only thing he did more. It's the only thing that LeBron or that Michael Jordan lost more than LeBron James. If you understand what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like when you look at, okay, he's done more losing in this particular facet than in this particular facet of the game or of the NBA game than LeBron James. However, the big however is, it's two of them. First of all, let's talk about it, right? We talk about 1 and 9. Understand what 1 and 9 is. First round, up until 2002, the first round was only a best of 5.
Oh.
So you don't really even go over a streak. So we're really talking about 3 seasons that this happened. Not a long-standing tradition of losing, but 3 seasons that this happened. He won 1 game of his first round. He won 1 first round game in his career, pretty much. In seasons that and basically where he didn't make it out of the first round, he only won 1 game. You know what I mean? But comparing LeBron getting out of the first round all the time when he went to the playoffs and Jordan not making it out of the first round 3 times, let's ask ourselves a question. What teams did the Bulls, led by Michael Jordan, lose to in the first round? Do you know?
Not all of them, but I'm pretty sure you're going to tell us. Please do.
I believe, and I'm going to confirm this again to make sure my eyes are not deceiving me. Michael Jordan-led Bulls teams lost in the first round to the NBA Finals representative each of those years. So the team that beat Jordan in the first round, if they didn't win the NBA title, they went to the NBA Finals. Okay? What can be said about the teams that beat LeBron James in the second round, since he always made it to the second round, no less? Did every team that beat LeBron James in the second round beat him en route to representing the Eastern Conference and NBA Finals? No. Did they win the title? Certainly not, because if they didn't represent them in the Eastern Conference, if they didn't represent the Eastern Conference in the Finals, they darn sure didn't win a title. So that's one argument about why this 1 and 9 means nothing, because it don't mean nothing in the grand scheme of his career. Secondly, and more importantly, if you look at Michael Jordan's playoff trajectory, meaning you look at where the season ended for him once he led teams to the playoffs. If you look at how those seasons ended, that line is as straight and ascension, or it's as linear and an extension. It's like an incline. Okay, it got progressively tougher, and he either met or exceeded that. There was no drop off. How many times in LeBron James' career did he reach a level and not make it back? Here's what I mean. 2007, they went to the NBA Finals. He didn't make it out the second round in 2008. 2009, he went to a conference finals. He didn't make it out the second round in 2010. 2011, he went to an NBA Finals. 12, he went to a Finals. 13, he went to a Finals. 14, went to a Finals. 15. Fair enough, right? There's some consistency him going to 9 straight Finals. But then we also talk, then that's where the winning matters now, because now you're here. My point is, Michael Jordan never in his playoff trajectory did his teams do worse in the season, in the following season, than they did before. Once he got to another level, he never went back further. And once he started winning, he never stopped. That's why 6-0 is important.
Got to be more careful. RB, if you listening, I hope you listening, because you can guarantee, rest assured, when I see you, I'm coming at you. My bad, y'all. That was a little personal. Sorry. Gully, is there anything else you want to add? I mean, I don't think you can. I don't think there's. I don't know if you can follow that up with some kind of encore or something. I don't think you can really do it. I think you might just want to stop right there because there's some folks ahead. So there's going to be some folks listening.
Because there was something. There was something else that came up. I believe in episode 5 that. I'm going to wait because I don't want to steal anybody's thunder.
Okay.
I'm going to see if you guys mention it. But if y'all don't, I definitely will because I think it is as important to any discussion we have. And it is particularly important to the previous discussion we left when we talk about branding. But I'll leave it there. But I really want to make sure we don't miss it.
Okay. Well, if we don't or don't, here's what I need you to do. What you just said, if you got a pen and paper, would you write that down right quick so you don't forget the thought? Because I ain't saying you like me. You're a little younger than me. But that's what I do here. When we discussing what we discussing, I'm taking notes. Even though I already wrote notes for the show, I'm still taking notes because y'all give me information as we go along. Is that cool? Brother Rich, do you want to add anything to what Gully just said in regards to that?
I mean, he laid it down. Gully laid it down so perfectly. I don't want to even go over those tracks. I think that was it. I mean, at the end of the day, this conversation resonates with this. Somebody went to the finals 6 times, won all 6. It's not as though they went to the finals 19 times, won 6, or went 9 times. They went to the finals only. When they started going to the finals, they never lost.
Thank you.
Magic Johnson went to the finals 9 times, but at least he won 5 of the 9. So his winning percentage is that when he gets to the finals, he's more than likely to win.
Thank you.
I mean, the conversation, I don't even, I'm one of those people, unfortunately, that I don't even know how this is a conversation because at the end of the day, we're playing for championships. Michael Jordan won a championship, 6 championships, and won 6 finals, and was finals MVP in all of them. And where he had as his next best player was Scottie Pippen. And there's debate as to whether or not he's one of the greatest of all time. Come on, let's be, this conversation has been over. This is only
it has
in a few people's mind. It's been over. I'm sorry.
But listen, Brother Rich, and the reason why, of course, we're talking about The Last Dance, but the reason why I'm pointing out certain things is because you have people here in Cleveland who, because they're from Cleveland, the truth is a lie. You get what I'm saying? I'm not taking away from the fact that the dude won a championship.
The fact that the highlight, they showed Cleveland so prominently in this highlight, I can understand. The whole world could understand why Clevelanders would be hurt right now based on this, would hate Michael Jordan. They were reminded in a very, very serious way with that. I mean, they showed the jump shot and they showed it again. And then they froze it, and then they showed him jumping around, and they showed the conversation that was going on.
Yeah, but see,
almost like if Dallas was getting beat down, it would be hard for you to watch that, wouldn't it?
No, if the Canes was getting beat down. But I'm glad you mentioned that Cowboys reference right quick, because let me throw this in with the Canes, because me and Gully was talking about this the other day. I live in Ohio. This is Buckeye country in every part. This part's Ohio I ain't never been, but I guarantee you Buckeyes. You get what I'm trying to tell you? And I am a Miami Hurricane fan. Now, if that ain't oil and water, I don't know what is. You get what I'm saying? So do you think, even though it's been 342 years ago, do you think I don't still hear about that national championship? We got y'all. You don't think I still hear about that? But here's the deal. As much of a Hurricane fan as I am and will stand on being a Hurricane fan, I'm not going to defend the fact that Ohio State whooped our behinds. You get what I'm trying to tell you? I'm not going to say Miami didn't take an L when they took an L because I'm a Miami Hurricane fan. That's how Cleveland fans sound because the Cavs won a title in 2016. I get it. It was 50-something thousand years the Cleveland ain't won nothing, and y'all happy about that. But don't make the truth into a lie because of how you feel. The truth is devoid of your feelings. You see what I'm saying? What is true regardless of how I feel. I'm going to tell you the truth about the Miami Hurricanes as much as of a fan as I am of the Miami Hurricanes. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, well, we beat y'all. No, y'all really didn't beat us because if he had tied his shoes right, we would. I'm not. Stop it. Stop it. That's why I keep pointing this out. You under dig? Come on, man. Stop it. It is what it is, and I'll give it up to that. But don't be coming up here and making it seem like what Mike like this dude did something that ain't no other player ever did. Like because because you happening right now, don't mean you the best to ever do it. But you can't tell that to Cleveland fans. Why? Because he won for Cleveland. So sit down. Anywho, excuse me, sorry. Double J, you want to have a say to what Gully said? I love that part about the trajectory. When he started winning, when he started going upwards, he didn't win 1 and then lose 5 and then win 2 and then lose 13 and all of that. And stop it. You want to have a say, Double J?
I'm going to cap it off like this. If the man that hails from Akron had taken sociopathic competitiveness trait from the man from Greensboro, rather than the golf branding trait that the man from Greensboro had pioneered, he wouldn't be 3-6.
Thank you. Anywho, yeah. Now that's truth be told. See what I'm saying? That's truth be told right there. You can't argue with that. Now here's the next one. We mentioned it in the last show we did to some degree, but I'm going to kind of throw a little something to kind of bring it back up here right quick. Was Jordan's influence such that it would have made a difference in Scotty's contract situation? Now, that part we discussed already, but I'm asking in particular because in this 5 or 6, whichever one it was, I don't remember particularly, but it was mentioned that Krause was over in Yugoslavia working on Kukok's deal, and as kind of Jordan kind of alluded to, was like, you over there taking care of somebody else's kids, but you ain't over here taking care of yours. In principle, you see what I'm saying? I know Scotty's deal was already signed and so on and so forth or whatnot, but wouldn't you have wanted to, if you knew that Scotty was not happy, make a move or try to do something to rectify that, Mr. Krause? Because everybody wants to blame Jordan. Jordan should have went to bat for Scotty. I don't think because of Krause's ego, and I don't mean to speak ill of those who are no longer here. I'm just saying, I don't think Jordan, despite his prowess, I don't think it was nothing Jordan could have said or done to cut through the thickness that was Krause's ego. Brother Rich, help me out. But give it to me straight.
Ditto. And let me say it like this. Ditto. And let me say it like this. This is not speaking ill of him. This is lifting the words in the context of how us all as a universe watching and tuning into The Last Dance and hearing the man say for himself, we don't care, Phil Jackson, if Phil Jackson goes 82-0.
Thank you.
Even though we've won 3 championships in a row and we're on the verge of winning our 6th title, he's telling the world that we don't care if Phil Jackson goes 82-0. This will be his last season. And he said, along with that, if Michael Jordan, in brackets, the world's greatest basketball player at that time and arguably forever, if he wants to leave, he's free to go play somewhere else. But this is it for Phil Jackson. Now, you're not going to nothing that Michael Jordan would have said would have influenced
made a difference
dealing with Scottie Pippen or this or that. Nothing would have made a difference in the world. And Michael obviously knew that. And we know of Michael Jordan now because we're watching it in historical time, that Michael Jordan was of the ilk and the focus of, I'm just here to play basketball. I really don't like none of these people. I can't stand Jerry Krause. He abused him at every chance they got. He made it known that he was not pleased with any decision he was making. Nevertheless, what he kept showing was resilience through any and every move that management made, and we ultimately all know now why that franchise came to its end was because of management. It wasn't the players. It wasn't Jordan hated his teammates. It wasn't any. It was the management made a decision. We're breaking this team up.
Absolutely. Double J, what say you?
Well, they handled it the best way that they could, and that was by proving it on the floor. So Jordan actually took the or rather Scotty followed in Jordan's footsteps, improving it during the Olympics. And to take it a step further, Jerry Krause, this was not, he was a scout. Let's go back to episode 1 here. When Jerry Reinsdorf first even got introduced to him, he was a scout for the White Sox.
Right.
Meaning that was his strength. But let's not forget, he was out there watching Scotty when many others weren't yet, when he was not on the radar. And so, that was absolutely Jerry Krause's strength. And so just like when they had I believe it was Tim Floyd lined up prior because they were quote unquote fishing buddies for the first go around to replace Phil Jackson, this was no different. This type of move of him going to negotiate with Tony Kukoc. But Jordan said, look, this is the most appropriate way. Anybody that you put in my way or say is equal to or greater than, whether that was Clyde Drexler, Tony Kukoc, Charles Barkley being the MVP, I'm going to go through them and show you that there is no one better or greater than I.
Listen here. I thought it absolutely brilliant for folks to want to make an issue after going down 2-0 to the Knicks. Him going to gamble in Atlantic City and then coming back and winning 4 straight. They want to make an issue. Oh, Jordan Dunn has got a gambling problem and so on and so forth. Man, okay, well, I guess...
You thought that was funny, didn't you? You liked that, didn't you?
Hey.
You liked that he beat the Knicks like that. That broke New Yorker's heart. That's why I told you.
Brother Rich, hold it.
So that kind of thing right there.
Let me tell you that. But I ain't saying it because I'm poo-pooing on the New Yorkers now. I'm a Rucker Park. For what? I got mad respect for how they get down in the Bronx and Brooklyn and the Bed-Stuy, baby. I was there. I understand it. Come on now. I'm a proponent of basketball back then anyway. The Knicks were about as formidable get. And right quick, I had to tell this a dude at the job the other day. We was talking about the Pistons and the whole thing. I said, man, I don't care nothing about handshake. I don't care about not that. As a purist, the Pistons get my ultimate respect. Do you understand? Because watching the Pistons play, when they was playing the Cavs, not necessarily the Bulls, the Pistons showed me that when I went to the park, like Roy Henson said, and then put it in perspective what Roy Henson said, who, by the way, used to play for the Cavs, and as I mentioned a million times before, used to come up to Woodhill. He said, this is why I come to get, I said, what you doing up here, Roy? He said, this is why I come to get my toughness at, young fella. Watching the Pistons only embodied that. I said, okay, it don't matter how sweet your jump shot is or how nice your turnaround hook shot is or if you can hit a drop step and all of that. But you got to let the guy, like Eddie Robinson said for Grambling, you got to let that other dude know in front of you today that he going to be in for a long one. Because you can have all that other stuff. If you don't have that, then you're LaMarcus Aldridge. No offense. Huh? Or Brad Daugherty. No offense. Come on, man. Bill Cartwright outplayed Brad Daugherty in all of them run-ins with the Cavs and Bulls and so on and so forth. And if you look at Bill Cartwright and you look at Brad Daugherty, I don't know where Bill Cartwright went to college at, but I know I followed Daugherty and all of them when he was at North Carolina. I used to watch Daugherty, and I'm saying, this dude got all of the skills. He could break anybody off. But if you ever go back and just look at a game with Brad Daugherty in it, it would drive you crazy how he used to just tap at the ball to get the rebounds and tap or put he loved laying it off the glass, and which is cool, you're supposed to. But sometimes, like, look, what did Magic say before the 1979 NCAA championship game against Bird? When he went to shake Bird in them hand in the workout, when they before the game, they were all in the gym together. Because back then, I guess both teams practiced in the same gym or whatever it was. He said, I went up to Bird to try to dap him up like, okay, let's have a good game. He said, Bird dogged him. But see, that's in the book, When the Game Was Ours by Jackie McMullen, the story of Magic and Bird. But it ain't a lot of folks don't read. You know what I'm saying? They too busy watching First Take. But anyway, Magic said, oh, okay, that's how you want to play it. In the huddle, prior to the tip-off in that 79 championship, Magic said, I don't care about nothing else. He said, I'm letting y'all know right now, we getting the tip. And when we get the tip, whoever get the ball off the tip, if you go down there and lay the ball up, I'm punching you in the face. He said, we can ready to send these as a message. Whoever get the tip better go down there and dunk it. Doherty never, he used to play too soft. So at the end of the day, man, I tip my hat to the Detroit bad boy Pistons, boy. And Mark Aguirre from DePaul. Don't y'all be getting me going off on these tangents, man. And that ain't what we're here for today. Boy. So Double J, to your Pistons, you tell Isaiah and Imani and all them folks up in Detroit, because I've been up in the Motor City too and had to throw down. Tell them Barbershop J say salute. You understand? All these people making these little side notes and sidebars about the Pistons and trying to lessen what the Pistons was because they love Mike that much and all of that. Jay is a purist, baby. I'm gonna give it to where it is. I tell you like it is. I got the utmost for the Pistons, baby. I can't speak for all some of them other folks who watch highlights and think that's all it is to tell a story about basketball. Not Jay, baby. But anyway, why? Before I even go to this, Double J Gully, did y'all want to weigh in on the Jordan influence, versus the Scotty and the contract and Krause being over in Yugoslavia? Oh, and let me say this too right quick about Tony Kukoc. I tip my hat to him too, because they mentioned this in the whether it was 5 or 6, they mentioned this the last episodes of The Last Dance, in that Yugoslavia and what they were going through, and that whole Serbia and that the war torn. Kukoc was a tough cookie, baby. He hadn't seen Mike and Scotty. That's why they did to him what they did in their first meeting in the Olympic things or whatever. But, the second time they faced each other, I think it was in the gold medal game, Kukoc played a little bit better. But, I tip my hat to Kukoc because what he was going through in his country at that time, yeah, a lot of folks couldn't survive that. You know what I mean? You got to be from certain places like Chi-Town and all of that to really understand to some extent what Kukoc was going through in his country of Yugoslavia. But, again, with the whole Kukoc and the contract situation and Scotty back here and so on and so forth, Double J, did you want to say anything about that?
Absolutely. I want to point out that to further the point that you're making here briefly on Tony, was he had no rationale and no, just zero awareness of what was Michael and Scotty's agenda was, and didn't even really know much about him.
Right.
He had the chance to leave. You pointed out he was going to be making more money in Europe, despite the circumstances that were taking place. In when many players, that's your green light to get out.
Yeah, right.
On top of that, what we're all forgetting is that he had the opportunity to not only leave, but go to the best case scenario, which was this championship winning team. And who says no to that? So if you want
Oscar
to imagine
Schmidt,
the pair on that's something that I think a lot of us may have overlooked, because it's a slight detail that in today's game, I don't believe that happens. Well, given the nature of your quote unquote number one player, it certainly wouldn't happen.
Yeah, gotcha.
But again, when it came down to branding, I encourage everyone to look up Scottie Pippen's overall income. Despite all of those years with that horrendous contract, he made well over $100 million.
Oh, I didn't know that. I did not know that. Wow. Okay, so it wasn't like he was just contract only. He was getting in. Oh, okay, got you. Yeah, okay, got you. But see, this is what I mean by information. And when you research for information, you research well enough and understand how to research, you'll find this information you're looking for. And it'll be a whole lot more than information that's just on the surface. What have I been saying here, fellas, since we've been doing this, even before I met some of y'all? There's a manifest function and a latent function to everything. My approach is always latent. I want to see that which is underneath. Because you can show me anything. You know what I'm saying? But we all know the same old adage is what? Don't judge a book by its cover, so to speak. But anyway, yeah. 100 million, huh, Double J? Wow. Who knew? I still think they crossed
109 million to be exact. Nearly 110. Because let's not forget that when I'm going to quote Scottie Pippen. My time is coming, and he was absolutely right. The minute he left that sign and trade
to Portland,
he took a deal with Portland.
Yeah.
Yep. $66 million.
How? But you know what? Well, how old was he then, roughly? Well, he still has some life left, so it was a good deal. It wasn't like, well, yeah. How old was he then? Well, I don't know. I don't even think. Never mind.
And then he went to Houston and got some money from them, didn't he? Didn't he get some money from Houston?
Yeah, I was because that's kind of why I was asking. I was going there. Yeah, did he did go to the Rockets? Yeah, he did go to the Rockets.
That's right, he did go to the Rockets.
Yeah,
as well.
he did go to the Rockets. I don't know.
He went to the Rockets for a couple of years.
Yeah, I don't know what the numbers were, but yeah, he did go to the Rockets. So, yeah, but I'm glad because some people couldn't get past the 7 years, $18 million. They act like that was the end all be all, and they basing their whole argument off the 7 years, $18 million. And I'm glad, as you pointed out, Double J, again, which I did not know, well, it was more than that. See what I'm saying? See, people come to the doggone conversation, you know what I mean, spewing all of this bull crap trying to make a case, but you ain't coming with all of the facts, like my man, Brother Rich, would say. You can't build an entire case off one piece of evidence.
Well,
stop it.
When I'm saying he made, $109 million, I'm talking about that's what he took home.
I'm sure. Yeah, exactly.
Well over $164 million.
Exactly. I'm sure. Yeah, come on now. But I appreciate you.
But just to clarify with you guys on that 98-99 Rockets deal, that was for about 17 and a quarter, and he took home 11.
Okay.
All right. Well, let's still add more money to the coffers. Gully, what about you? You want to weigh in on that as far as the whole contract deal and whether or not if you think Krause could have been doing something with Scotty, seeing how he was, working on overseas, working on the Kukoc deal? Because me and you kind of discussed that a little bit last night as well.
Yeah. Scottie Pippen signed a horrible contract during the NBA Finals in '91. That deal was an extension. Not a new one. It was an extension over his existing contract. That was to ride that out. Again, we know why he did it. The reasons are admirable. He had a lot of people that he was taking care of in his family, a lot of people that he loved, and the opportunity to have $1.8 million every year to take care of his family is nearsighted in one instance, but it was for a family who didn't have much. It is very, very farsighted. 1.8 million from zero is a whole lot, compared to 1.8 million where you could potentially earn 30 million. But my point is this: Jerry Krause, being a GM, and the owners already had understood one thing, and it's stating the obvious, but the ink was already dry. My pursuit to build the Bulls organization is not to build a team, is to build a team that could win, okay? Not to build a team around my favorite two guys that helped me win. It wasn't about how do I make the best players around Scottie Pippen and Michael Jordan. Is how do I make this the best organization it could be, knowing I've got two of the best with me already. That being said, Scottie Pippen signed his deal for $1.8 million, separate from whatever deal that Michael Jordan had. Okay, if Scottie was unhappy with what he had $1.8 million every year. His deal was already locked in. I've got to look at the future of the organization. So if Scottie's unhappy and he's really unhappy with the deal he signed, and I'm in a position where I'm not about to go back and give him more because I've already got him locked into what he had. He wasn't a restricted free agent or unrestricted free agent. He'd already signed this deal. He's unhappy with it. Okay, we're not budging from our position. He's going to ride out that contract, and he's unhappy. Okay, well, we know what unhappy players can do in a contract. So I'll tell you what, let's continue building the organization. Let's find the next guy
to be at the ready. Let's find Jimmy Garoppolo if we fast forward to the future. Let's find Jimmy Garoppolo because I think Brady feels like he wants to go.
Yeah.
That's what Tony Kukoc represented.
Yeah,
Okay, he represented the future. Go ahead.
No, and I understand that from a business decision. I still just say on the flip side, Krause could have, set the business up on the shelf and said, "Look, man, let me holler at you. Let me holler at you, Scotty. You know what I mean? Let me holler at you." But you did. He understood. Okay, Scotty signed it, and he just stuck his foot in the sand, so to speak, or put his foot in the concrete and said, "Nope, you signed it. There it is. But again, I give Krause all the credit in the world for building what we're seeing now. You know what I mean? What we're discussing now. I get it. But I also give him the same credit for destroying it, too. I do. Now, you said you wanted to make a point earlier. Did we touch on anything that you was going to mention or no? Or do you, Gully?
No, we talked about when we talked about the Jordan brand and how that came to be. The idea of the marketing campaign, the guy, you know what I'm saying, he wanted to market him like a tennis player. And what that blossomed into, right? The Jordan empire and the sneakers and the shoe deals, the shoe deals and the Gatorades and all of that. And how Michael Jordan said from himself, understanding that there is a means to an end, but among the greatness about Michael Jordan and maybe as an athlete or as a basketball player that I respect, though I don't know him personally, is the fact that he understood something that every player needs to hear. And that if I coach my sons, if anything, they need to understand something. He said his excellence, when he talked about his excellence on a basketball court, right, it was necessary for him to continue to be excellent because you know what? You ain't gonna sell them shoes averaging 3 points a game. So once he got there, he had to sustain it, to sustain the brand. The brand was established to get him $126 million in their first year with the Air Jordan shoe when Nike's projections were nowhere near that. But so he had already established it. But to sustain it, where a lot of guys, you might think that they plateau. Once they got the deal, once they got the money, once they got the brand and they locked into that contract for years, now playing basketball is, hey, it's just what it is. You don't become a billionaire with an attitude that once I got it, it can work enough. Because you're right, a business is supposed to be built that way, right? Where you work, you develop it enough, it's powerful enough to grow its own revenue and sustain its own revenue and pay me and keep itself. Good, fine, okay. But he wanted more than that. So his drive to maintain his competitive edge, to maintain his brand, was to maintain his excellence inside the 94 feet.
Yes.
He built it like he was hungry. That there is very powerful. And that's why certain brands don't last. And that's why it can be about the money. It can be about all of that. But really, if it ain't about the 94 feet, it won't ever sustain itself.
Thank you. That's what I keep trying to tell people, man. Whatever it is that you did, whatever you had to do to get you there, once you get there, you still got to do that thing to stay there. And that's what he did, because we've seen far.
But see, again, gentlemen, both of you, I want to take a different tack and ask both of you this question. Then how do you explain a lottery winner? Because I think that you all are missing. That's true for a particular and peculiar.
When you say lottery winner, you're talking about somebody that plays scratch off?
Eternity.
You're talking about somebody that plays scratch off?
Meaning this. Yes, that's exactly in that literal sense. I mean,
yeah, but they ain't really.
That's my point. You have.
Go ahead.
But here's the thing, Jay. What I'm telling you is, you have a lot of these young athletes today that are, just as you pointed out to us, Gully, that brand element. And I want to say something else about that brand element. Let's look at that brand element for Jordan. We talked about Scottie Pippen and his bad contract, but we didn't talk about who was absent from that documentary and that element of that conversation. We saw who Michael Jordan's agent is. Who was Scottie Pippen's agent, and why would they let him sign a contract like that? That person.
Oh, yeah,
let's
no
look at the
that.
fairness of the contract. That the fact that Krause would let the man. Why would you sign a player of this kind of value to your organization? And what happens ultimately is Scottie began to understand that he was taken advantage of. Jordan got all those contracts because David Falk, who could proudly represent himself in that documentary, was proud to talk about and even talk about the influence of Michael Jordan's parents on him in taking those different deals and contracts. That he had a team behind him to help him to make that. Who was helping Scottie Pippen, and why didn't that person speak and talk
That's
about
a good question.
how could you let your client in
That's
the
a good
90s,
question.
they were signing $100 million contracts in the 90s. People
Hey, but
with Alonzo Mourning and Larry Johnson and them were beginning to sign nice contracts during that time. So where is the money coming from? Why? And the Bulls were champions over and over again. Where was their money in terms of them being able to take care of the second best player on the team and somebody who's helping to fill up the arenas every night? We got to ask those kind of questions.
Yeah, and you know what, too, though, Brother Rich, I think as well, I want to give some credit to Michael's parents, too. I'm with you on the David Falk thing. But I think that if I don't know him, so I don't want to say for certain like I do know it. I'm just throwing it out here. But if let's say he came in with the mindset of I'm about to get over on this dude, I think when he met Mike's parents, he knew even if that was his thing, he knew off the rip. Oh, I can't get none over on these folks. You get what I'm saying? His mama and his daddy was grounded, which of course a lot of folks that's crumbing up now and last 20, 30 years, they missing all that right there. But his parents, and they might not know. I don't even know their story. They probably didn't even go to college. Wasn't his mother a teacher or something or another? I'm not sure. I don't want to speculate on that.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Very well educated.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
See that? You see what I'm saying? So, in other words, whoever was coming through that door about her son, she probably even had to open her mouth. They could see it on her face. You can come here with some bull if you want to. You understand what I'm trying to tell you? I'm from Blytheville, Arkansas. I'll bust you upside your head, boy, and you can kiss my grits. But yeah, I mean, this documentary so far, man, it's an eye opener. It's a few things in there that I'm being, that's I'm just now finding out that I didn't know then, but not a lot. You know what I'm saying? For the most part, I think those who saw him in that area and the stories and stuff that went on then, he kind of knew a lot of the stuff. But the folks that only got to see highlights, they the ones that need to learn something. That's why I asked, the last one. If you're not watching this with a pen and pad, shame on you and shame on them. And then lastly, and unfortunately, I'm looking at my screen here. We lost Gully for whatever reason. Sometimes that happens. Oh, okay, he texted me. Yeah, he had something else to do. So, unfortunately, my man Gully had to drop out on us. But I still, of course, got Brother Rich and Double J here. But lastly, I wanted to throw this out here. Why, Brother Rich, in your estimation, do you think Craig Hodges has not been mentioned so far in this documentary? Now, I threw this out here to a coworker, and they said he didn't play on that team. It's about the 97, 98. It's called The Last Dance. True. But if you've been watching this, they go back. They got like a timeline, and they go back and revisit a point in time during Hodges' time because they talk about the first 3 chips all the way up to the last 3, right? So they're chronicling. You know what I mean? And we've heard about everybody else. So for the most part, the Kerrs, the Paxsons, and so on and so forth. Why do you think Craig Hodges is not being mentioned in this documentary? I can tell you why. And for all those who are interested, you can go to The Guardian. TheGuardian.com wrote an interesting piece on Craig Hodges and what he had to say about why Mike didn't speak out when the Ron Gant and Jesse Helms thing took place or whatnot. But again, Brother Rich, why do you think that's the case? Hodges not being mentioned.
Well, I happen to know a little bit about that, so I'll get to that in a second. But I also want to point out to you and to the audience that's listening to pay particular attention to the fact that while the documentary talks about those who are near and dear to Michael in terms of his agent, his family, certainly his teammates, you see that Kobe Bryant is referenced in the documentary.
Oh my gosh, I forgot to mention that.
To us. It should be interesting that somebody else is not mentioned in the documentary. I'll leave that alone. But as we're talking about Craig Hodges, Craig Hodges at that time became a thorn in the side of Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan did not want to be disturbed in terms of any social activism. And Craig Hodges was an individual who many people know was pressuring Michael and encouraging Michael and exhorting Michael. And not only Michael, he was doing it with the major players in the NBA, Magic Johnson, and he was going at the major African American players to stand up for social causes and be more like the players of the 60s and use their strength and use their position as athletes to call for more social change in our world, in our country.
Hold on, let me stop you. Let me just interrupt you. Let me interrupt you right quick, because if you said it was Magic, I think didn't he ask Magic and Mike to boycott the Olympics or something like that? The 91,
Absolutely
one Olympics, not
Absolutely
91, but
correct.
Olympics. Okay, go ahead.
He sure did, and Magic Johnson told him that was too extreme, and Michael Jordan just laughed at him and dismissed him immediately. And so because Craig Hodges was seen as the person that became a problem when this became an issue with the Bulls in particular, and Michael Jordan specifically, this became an opportunity to run Craig Hodges out of the team and get him out of the league. And to this day, Craig Hodges will tell you that Michael Jordan is much more interested in his brand, like Gully was talking about a minute ago, in his brand and the success of his brand and what he's going to do and what it's all about him. And most people, this is one of the things that's absent from the documentary, is that most people who know Michael Jordan, most of them who will tell you they know him, will not tell you good things about him. They will not tell you that. And that's an unfortunate thing, but it's just an element of who and what people who are close to him and have been around him will tell you about him. This is just something that he doesn't care about anything except what he's doing in terms of he's still a driven person with his brand, the Jordan brand, what's going on with him, and the empire he continues to build.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah. I mean, that's real spit. You know what I mean? You got to tell it. That's how we do here. We tell it like a TI is. Double J, you want to weigh in on that as well?
Well, absolutely. He's an individual that was blackballed. He was the Colin Kaepernick of the early 90s in the NBA, which, again, if you look at really what has carried the league, and just from a demographic speaking, it's something that I think is a very eye-opening fact for the casual fan to see that in the NFL, I believe that many, if you look especially at the fan base, many would understand why. I mean, they may not agree. I certainly don't. Why the pushback and came when Colin did what he did. But when it comes to the NBA, which Adam Silver has embraced, those that view themselves as, I wouldn't even necessarily say view themselves as activists, but have an opinion on a social justice or just social issue, to use their platform for that in their voice to speak up for those who don't. So when it came to this gentleman, you got to remember he won a title despite him opposing the Gulf War at that point in time, which again, Phil Jackson, his own head coach, seen eye to eye with him on that topic. So this is not, this is where he went lone wolf. But when he showed up to the White House, I don't even know if you see him in these pictures today.
Yeah, he's wearing, he
was in a dashiki.
Dashiki, yeah.
And again, what I personally admire about it is, again, to quote here, the purpose of this is on behalf of the poor people, Native Americans, homeless, and most specifically, the African Americans who are not able to come to this great edifice and meet the leader of their nation where they live.
You mean all of the people who are ignored, were ignored, and are still ignored? But go ahead, continue.
Well, exactly. And they have been stepped on in some way, shape,
Thank
or form.
you. Yes, got you. Thanks for adding that. Yeah. At the end of the day, man,
Taking it a step further, he won the three-point contest.
He sure did.
Despite him not being in the league the following year, he wanted to defend his title. He was told that you have to be on an active roster to do so. That is actually not the case.
Wow.
It may be today, and again, I would encourage somebody to look into it, but at that point in time, they had let someone come over from, I believe it was the USSR, or the Soviet Union, and participate. So it is very, again, when it comes to the ownership, I don't care if it's in fashion, automotive, NBA, or NFL. You have to, you have to look at things very differently from the player side. You cannot assume that they're going to be on board with whatever it is, and it's unfortunate. And I think this is a really good example of that hasn't been talked about enough. But it also goes to show, as much credit as we want to give to Michael about his ability to establish a brand that has given an enormous amount of opportunities to players across multiple sports platforms globally. And to our point earlier here on the program about potentially even extending that arm to college athletes and giving them a chance, he had arguably his biggest opportunity to speak up, and he didn't. And as he stated during that show yesterday, he never seen himself as an activist. And although he respects Muhammad Ali, he did not see himself to be an equal to that. And unfortunately, protecting his own brand was more in selling sneakers was more important to him than social issues were. And to me, despite all the great things that you do on the court, the impact that you have for communities and what you do off the court is really what makes you legendary. So that's where, unfortunately for me, I draw the line in the sand.
Oh, wait. Good stuff, fellas. Good stuff. Well, as we can say, we've got 4 parts left to The Last Dance documentary, that is. So far, I've been impressed, enthralled, and all that other good stuff, or any other adjective you might want to throw in there. I'm glad, this is the right time for it, too. There's no sports and so on and so forth, because as we know, it was supposed to be showed in between games, of the NBA Finals, which obviously are not taking place. We don't know if they're yet to still take place or not. So this was like apropos. I don't know how many viewers or whatever this thing done got, but this was needed for, like I said, those people who did not get to see it and who only use highlights to try to make a case or an entire case for their argument when it comes to who is and who ain't. Fellas, as always, this was good stuff. And on that note, it's been fun, but we got to run. We appreciate y'all for listening. Don't forget to check us out right here on the Spreaker.com network. Go to the search box and you type in the Shot Report. Oh, and while you're there, please give a subscription or a prescription in some cases for some folks. Or you can check us out on Facebook, Twitter, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast and give us a follow. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, as well as dropping us some comments, suggestions via email to shotreport365@gmail.com. We are in the process of, thanks to Rocket Digital and my cat Joey James, putting up our website. It's up, but it's still being worked on. But you can go to, if you want to, and check it out, theshotreport.com. We coming at y'all. You see what I'm saying? This thing is really, really coming at y'all. And if that don't work, you can Google it. For my mans, Be Rich, Double J, D Gully, and all those who follow and support us, we say thank you. I'm Barbershop J, and you've been listening to the Shot Report. And remember, the next time y'all want to know what's really going on, come to the shop. Walk-ins are always welcome. Holla.
Hey, Dak Prescott.